thanks for coming, thanks for staying. My name is Okke Schlüter. It's not on the slides and it's not the main important point. I'd like to, I do work at the HDM at this university, and I work in a dedicated publishing program, a bachelor program and a master program. And besides my duties as a professor, I work closely together with the industry association, the so-called Börsenverein des Deutschen Buchhandels, which is the book industry association, and they do foster innovation in the area of the content industry very much. And we launched this year an accelerator for startups, which we called CONTENTshift, in terms of shifting content into new business models. Yeah, that's where the name comes from, and it's an accelerator because we designed it rather as a training and coaching program rather than an incubator which typically invests a lot of money. So it's not about raising money, it's about, if you want, raising competencies, skills, developing people, developing business models. That's what it's all about. And the short list of the features is this slide. Although it's in German, I try to translate that on the fly. It is a 3-month program in the third quarter of the year. So first, the launch was third quarter of 2016. It's going to take place second time in 2017 and hopefully in the years to come. And it's a EU-wide program, so we are addressing and involving and developing startups all over Europe. It's not just Germany-based, although the main number of participants was from Germany, as our industry association is primarily known in Germany, but it's open to anybody from the EU. That has to do with the fact that some of the money comes from Brussels, so we are obliged to offer it Europe-wide, and Günther Oettinger, as a Commissaire for Digital Affairs in Brussels, was the chairman of this accelerator, and he was keen on participants from other European countries as well. So, launch of the program this year, we raised 7 sponsors who invested a considerably small amount of money with 10,000 euros compared to an incubator that is ridiculous, but it was enough to enable us to provide the coaching and the training and the seminar we offered to the participants. I was involved with a former colleague of mine from the publishing industry, Harald Hensler, and myself. We coached the startups, but we were neither part of the investor group, of course we are not as professors, nor were we involved in the jury, because we found it important to train the people, shouldn't be connected to selecting people to move on to the next round. Otherwise they would be over polite in the communication with us, hoping to take an advantage of this. So coaching divided or split different from the jury and the next stages. We created a Europe-wide network from built of investors, startups trying to network the whole community, and students of our bachelor program, media publishing, were involved in this accelerator, as their task was in the context of an exam they had to take. Their task was to analyze the business models of the startups taking place, because we did a survey or an analysis for this industry association to find clusters or typical patterns of business models represented in the participants of this year. Because it's very interesting for the established book publishers to find out what typical patterns can we find in upcoming startups, because that could be inspiring for the established book publishers and other companies of the industry. So that is, if you want, the short list of features. Now, which were the benefits for the startups? There are 2 slides. Yes, a question, please. Yeah, it should be included in some slide, but I like the dialogue, so please ask whenever you feel like, no matter if it's on a slide to come. We had 45 applications, and we initially wanted to select 15. The jury voted for 18 participants of the first round. Then we selected the finalists, which was a group of 5, and from this final group of 5, we selected a winner during the Frankfurt Book Fair, the largest book fair in the world, as you might know. And Günther Oettinger himself, he was present when we awarded the winner of this accelerator. Yes, please. Good question. Well, it's basically, it is all business ideas that are somehow related to content, but in a media neutral understanding. So that could be moving images, animations, text, e-learning, whatsoever, content data that are part of a business model. Yeah, I know this is not an industry definition, but it was our aim not to stick to conventional borders of an industry, but to see curation of content, raising content, improving content, selling content. That is our understanding of the future of the publishing industry. So we shouldn't restrict ourselves to printed formats, to publishing houses as they work today. What we should think ahead, imagining how content will be raised, curated, and resold in the future. That's how we came to this vague definition of a content industry. Yeah, but your question is absolutely right. It is not anything. Could even be gaming, whatever. Would be any content that can be published in a media format and distributed, yeah, basically. Exactly. So what were the benefits for the startups? As you can see here, let me refer mainly to the boxes with a red background. Networking, connect young business people, young entrepreneurs with established institutions of the industry. Secondly, experience transferred from experts to young entrepreneurs. Of course, experienced experts are not more clever or more intelligent than the young entrepreneurs, but when you've been involved in an industry for 20 years, you have realized some patterns, what works, what doesn't, where are typical obstacles. So that is the kind of experience or expert knowledge we tried to transfer. Financing played a minor role, as I pointed out already. So it was not about raising money, but of course we arranged some seminars and a weekend together and 10,000 euro for the winner, the winning startup. And media awareness, attention. So we tried to present these startups in the industry media so that they get more well-known, more contacts, and so on, sort of promotion. We did use, and I know some colleagues at my university, some even present in this room, use design thinking as well. I had adapted the innovation method of design thinking a couple of years ago with a colleague of mine from Berlin University, and we adapted the general concept of design thinking to the media industry, creating what we call design agility. So it's a design thinking adapted to the media industry with agile or with components of agile project management, because we find that really useful for media prototyping. And that was one of the seminars all the participants of the Accelerator got. That was, by the way, a webinar and a training I offered myself, because I do it in the programs of our university, and I got quite positive feedback about it, just as an example. But what were the benefits for the investors? Why should they take part? Isn't that spending money for nothing? They found inspired by the young entrepreneurs, fresh thinking, courageous people with big ideas, sometimes a little too big, but very inspiring. We had interesting talks. We had a common work on solutions, so working on the challenges together. The investors found that interesting. We had discussions about trends. Where is the industry to go? Which trends are the most crucial ones? Because our assumptions about the future of an industry, they influence heavily in which way we should develop. Yeah? If we're assuming complete digitization includes other strategies than if we would assume a rollback to print media. Yeah? Completely different assumptions. And the EU coverage, so an European focus, is maybe more important than we thought in the beginning due to the actual crisis of the European Union, maybe a political statement as well. The finalists are listed here. You won't know many of them, I'm afraid, because they're mainly active in a national context. Papego was the final winner with the technology to read media independent. So imagine a scenario where you read the newest novel you just bought in bed until you fall asleep and you end up on page 125, whatever, and next morning you go by bike to your nearest local train station and you want to continue with the novel as an audiobook while you go by bike, and then sitting in the local train you might want to read further on a mobile device. So this is kind of an enabling technology to link different medias to enable a continuity of media consumption over different devices and technologies. Yeah? And that was the final winner. You can get the slides afterwards if you're interested in. Just drop me an email and you don't have to write down all the details. Some photos of the workshop, the weekend workshop we spent together, as all people involved, be it the investors, be it the startups, are busy during the week with their companies, their business ideas. We found a weekend is the only way to join a workshop together, and we had a lot of fun, many discussions, as you can see, and yeah. Good exchange. This is the winner, a lucky winner, not only due to the check of about 10,000 euro, but with Günther Oettinger present at the Frankfurt Book Fair, he was really lucky. And as you can see, he does not fit into the stereotype of a young entrepreneur. Yeah, he's about my age, but I would say from his mentality, a very young person, very open, very communicative, very decent. Yeah, not arrogant at all. And he was the winner, which proves that there's no cliche like in a casting show where you have to be 24 years old, beautiful looking and performing on stage, but really best business idea won. This was the final during the Frankfurt Book Fair. Some of you might know Günther Oettinger. That is the chairman of the book industry association, Skipis, and yeah, some impressions, the winner with a check and so on. Some feedback from the participants, also from the jury, as well as from the winner. And this statement, I have to add, was taken from the winner before he was awarded the winner of the Accelerator, so he didn't know yet he's going to win. And both sides were very satisfied with the results of the first round. In German, we have a saying that the first pancakes get spoiled most of the time, but the second and third and so on pancake is typically more delicious. And so if the first run was quite okay, we're quite optimistic that we still have opportunities to improve. Literally yesterday I had the follow-up meeting with the industry association, and we talked about improvements and changes for the upcoming second round of CONTENTshift, and that's basically the story up to now, and we hope that'll continue for a couple of years. I'd like to stop here as far as my presentation is concerned, to have some time for your questions, maybe your own experiences with startup trainings, accelerators, incubators, and some exchange of ideas or thoughts. Thanks for your attention, and I'm ready to answer any question you might have. Thank you. Are there any?
Yeah, competition was really interesting. So my question would be, do we have any idea what now happens to these 6 final companies? Do they find it? Will they find investors, or would you say now your job is over and they are out of your sight? Or
Yeah, good question. It turned out that yes, we were successfully in connecting them to the established industry. For example, during the Frankfurt Book Fair, I sat together with some of the startups and led them to stands, fair stands, where I know business developers and technological experts at established publishing houses. So I introduced them, and the rest is their business. I mean, I'm not a broker or a consultant, but I can bring together people who share common interests. That's the first. And the second is there has been established sort of a relationship between the coaches and the startups, and it turned out that we, in a way, stay in contact, although not in the same intensity as during the accelerator. But we are linked via social networks, and we are in touch via emails. So yes, I think it's going to be sort of a long-term relation, just on a different intensity, because as we will take new startups on board next year, of course, we can't continue this coverage. But yes, I think there's continuity in the contact, and the Industry Association, the Börsenverein, they even created a startup club where all the startups, which all the startups can join to get to know new people and to be in permanent contact with the Industry Association. Welcome. Please.
So, like, as I understood, you said that what you do is not a classical publishing house kind of stuff. It's more developing into the modern time. And what the example, the first winner is more like a little bit above the classical way. It's still somewhere near to the books and all. What about from the design perspective? Every app you see nowadays, every website, it's like a new concept. You know, there's a new design, there's something new, which probably I never saw before. So is it possible that those guys could also participate with the new design? Okay, we just developed this website and this app.
Definitely, and that is even what we're, as organizers, what we are looking for, to get fresh ideas in the industry, and we perceive it as an exchange. We get the fresh wind, the fresh ideas in the industries, and we offer contacts and business opportunities, so it's a mutual benefit for those who are willing to adapt to the content industry, let me say. Yes, definitely. We're absolutely open, I can say, and I think it needs time. I think in the first year you get people who feel more or less close to the industry, and I think the more the accelerator gets known and the word is spread, maybe more distant business types will log on to the accelerator. I hope so. Hartmut Rösch, you had a question.
What stage they were?
Yeah, they had to start with, they had all founded a company legally, but in the, let's say, in the life cycle of a startup, they were at completely different stages. Some had just, in a way, signed their contracts or registered at the official institutions, and some look back on 3 years of business. So a heterogeneous field. A clear majority of Germany-based startups, due, I think, to the communication channels. We didn't reach all startups in Europe, to be fair. But from Spain and from Poland, some startups were from other different countries. And what I found striking, a lot of the Germany-based startups, they were cross-culture in themselves. So what we found was primarily startups with people from all over the world. with Americans joining from Asia, so really mixed teams. So the internationalization was also within the startups and not only to the geographic area we covered.
So all of those startups met first in Frankfurt at the workshop?
Yes, all participants met. We didn't have the possibility to gather all the applicants. So there were, as I said, 45 who were interested in taking part, and we could only invite, firstly, all selected 18 participants, and secondly, the finalists, the 5. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just one more point.
Yeah, sure, sure.
I like the idea with having fresh ideas from different small startups, but I was also thinking about, are the publishing 7 publishers
Mm.
is also willing to cooperate for, let's say, have something like an innovation together? I thought of the music industry where they struggled for 10, 20 years, and then iTunes said, we will be the business of online music.
Yeah.
So, do you think they want to cooperate? So I thought of perhaps, because I like a lot of short stories. Now I like to read short stories. There are hundreds of authors, but they are from different publishing houses. If I now knew there is a website where I can find one platform, different short stories, we would need all the publishing houses together. So, but I think that was not the focus here. Or do you think they would also like to, would be able to cooperate? Because I think there's a lot of chance in
Yeah.
innovations that need all the content
Right. Yeah.
owners together.
Yeah, we had indeed some business models of the type connection. That means their business idea was based on gathering content from many different publishing houses, if that is what you mean. There were some based on this. The attitude of the established publishing houses, the investors, towards the startups with either cooperation or integration in terms of buying the startups. Yeah.
As one company.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't hear so much about integration. I mean, you could also imagine to integrate a startup as a new department or business unit in the existing publishing group. We didn't hear anything of that, but yes, that's a very interesting question. How do they see their common future? Is it cooperation? Is it integration? We are very curious what's in the upcoming year. Okay, I suppose there's a presentation to follow, so I don't want to waste too much time from my colleague. Thanks for coming. Please feel free to drop me an email if you have any further questions, and have a nice weekend. Bye.
Thank you.